Welcome to the station, Kentucky's Conservative Outpost, the only program in this state that deals with news and politics and culture from a conservative perspective. So we're glad you joined us tonight. And of course, you know this is the month of June, which has now officially been designated Pride Month for here to eternity. So every year we have to deal with this silliness of pride flags being shoved in your face and weird things showing up at your local retailers. But and there's other issues that we're dealing with along that front, and we wanted to talk to Richard Nelson again. We did a recent program with him on this issue, and wanted to bring Richard back because there's a lot of things happening in the political front in this state that needs to be highlighted and talked about. And so, Richard, welcome back to the show.
Great to be on with you.
Yes, Pride Month. So we're dealing with this one more time. So what is happening on a state level politically? In relation to issues that stem from this cultural battle we're in, religious freedom, for example, or just drag queen story hour that's going on around the country, teaching LGBT agendas in schools. There's so many things on so many different fronts related to this issue. So, how is Kentucky faring on any of those?
Yeah, of course, those issues, Tom, were hotly debated in this last legislative session. I want to go back to something before I go into some of the particular bills. So, LGBT Pride Month has been going on for some time. LGBT parades and pride events have been taking place, many in our bigger cities that we've seen them. Those things began as a kind of a rallying point for the LGBT community. They were seen as affirming others. They've been seen as promoting acceptance and tolerance. At least that's what we were told. But LGBT Pride Month has become a tool of conformity, really where there's a lot of intolerance. National Review said this: Pride Month has increasingly become a tool of forced conformity for the purpose of isolating dissenters from the LGBTQ ideology, especially religious believers, in either compelling their submission or punishing them for standing on their conscience. And when that turn happened, what National Review is saying is, look, this is not tolerance. This is not about a group affirming one another or affirming their identity, but it's become a tool to crush others. And because of that, and because of what we've seen in Kentucky and in other states, conservative state legislatures are pushing back. That's what the Kentucky state legislature did with Senate Bill 150, especially regarding what can be taught in the public school classroom, K-5 classroom. They're not going to be teaching LGBT identities. In any public schools, they cannot force teachers to use the preferred gender pronouns of the students. And this hinges on the religious freedom, the conscience rights, if you will, of the teachers. We're seeing bathrooms. Every school board in Kentucky has to have a bathroom policy that's consistent with the biological sex of the children. So because of this extreme push, if you will, at the national level by the LGBT community, you're seeing conservative states respond, first of all, to protect children. Secondly, to protect conscience rights of teachers and administrators. But then we're also seeing this war, this culture war, if you will, ratchet up, where we have a governor, Tom. You want to talk about politics, but one of the first things that Andy Beshear did when he was in office was he invited the largest LGBT rights group in Kentucky, or actually they invited him to speak. He was the first governor to speak to that group. After that event, he took a picture with the group called the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. This is where transgender men dress up as nuns in very provocative ways. And it's essentially they participate in blasphemous type events. They have events, the Hunky Jesus event, the Sexy Mary event. It mocks people of faith. Our governor chose to have a picture with them. That was 3 years ago. Well, it's making the rounds again. It's been uncovered, and that is back in the news. And I bring this up to say this: that there really is a war for the hearts and minds of our children. There's a battle for our culture, what it means to flourish, what it means to be healthy. what freedom means. I think we're learning, are there limits to freedom? And what does religious freedom mean? So you have all of these questions that are at stake there. And if there's ever been a time, I'll pivot over to this. If there's ever been a time for people of goodwill, especially the Christian community, to engage and to engage well, that time is right now. There is a lot at stake.
That's right.
There is something that we can say to these issues. I think we have a vision of what does it look like to form a healthy family? What does it look like to have a healthy community? We do know that there are certain guardrails that God gives us that leads to flourishing. And he does this because he loves us. God cares for us deeply. He does not want us to hurt ourselves, but he gives us guardrails because he loves us. And I think when we follow his direction, his rules for sexual ethics, his rules for family, things go much better. But when we reject that, there's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of fallout related to that.
That's right. A lot of, yeah, that's right. A lot of sadness and a lot of dysfunction that plays out in lives that really follow that movement. And gosh, there's so much I wanted to comment there on what you just said. One aspect I'd love to see this month change to something else. Whether Pride Month means something different, where it means pride in families, pride in your marriage, pride in things that are good and wholesome and true. And so I think that
Tom, did you know?
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt, but did you know that there is a professor at Princeton University, Robbie George, who's proposed, instead of Pride Month, that we have Fidelity Month, and it's actually being celebrated right now and talked about. And this is the idea of fidelity to family, fidelity to God, and fidelity to country.
That's right.
And it's radically different. It's more of an outward looking instead of an inward self-indulgent looking movement. It's where it's sacrificial relationships of a man and woman marriage, who raise children, who are part of the community, who are grateful for their country and the freedoms that they're given. So to answer your question, this is a thing. It's only I just learned about it the other week, and this is the kind of thing we should be doing, by the way, in the Christian community. Let's look for alternatives. Let's shine light to a better way.
That's right.
And Fidelity Month, I think, is a much better way and something worth celebrating.
That's right. It's easy to be against something, but what are you for? And so let's talk about what we celebrate. It's interesting. The Italy has a new prime minister or president. I forget whatever that role is, but she is actually that country, and I think she took the lead on this. They actually outlawed the Pride Month. They just say, listen, we're going to celebrate family. We're not going to celebrate this. And so they took it. I don't know if they outlawed it necessarily, just basically quit celebrating it as a state institutional celebration. So that sort of pushback is happening. And I don't celebrate that in the sense that I want to bash people that are LGBT, right? We're not trying to bash it, but there's a movement and an ideology behind that is not healthy for the people involved and for society as a whole. And I think it's a good thing to push back on this stuff. And so, you also commented on just the way this movement, and the way other similar movements, just the whole critical theory and critical, the whole woke world of which the LGBT movement kind of fits within. You get radical feminism and radical, racial politics and radical LGBT. All this is under the woke banner. Well, how all of that is used in a way to create this authoritarian, mindset in culture where we're afraid to speak out. There's a lot of Christians and people of goodwill that are maybe uncomfortable with this. They're now sort of almost browbeated and bullied. Not almost. They are browbeated and bullied into being quiet. And so, you have a question about this? You think it's wrong that maybe your son is coming home with Heather has two mommies as homework? You're a hater. You're just a bad person. And so there's a real, almost like a fear of that you used to see in like Eastern Bloc communist countries, where you had to abide by the state orthodoxy or the state religion, or else you paid the penalty. We're in that point now. It's like you abide by this, or else pay the price. And so what should we do? People of goodwill in this state and this country, what should we do to push back on that?
Tom, that's a really good question. I think we need to go back to first principles. And when I say first principles, I mean this: freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, freedom of religion. Then we need to disentangle some of these ideas, conflated ideas that because I exercise my freedom of speech and because I want to live according to my conscience and my religious convictions, please don't conflate that with me hating you. I simply have a different idea of what it means to flourish, of what a healthy relationship looks like, of what it means to live out my faith in public. Please don't accuse me of hating you. I can love you, I can respect you, but it doesn't mean that I have to agree with you. And this is where I think people get intimidated. Most people, look, Tom, they want to keep their head down. They don't want to cause waves. They don't want to have conflict in their lives. So they just go with the flow. But we need to be willing, as Christians in particular, to join the conversations, to articulate well why we believe in what we believe. We do believe that we're all made in the image of God, that we have inherent dignity and value, but we are made to walk with God. And unfortunately, we are sinners. We are separated from God. But the good news is this, is that Jesus came and died in our place for our sins so that we can be reconciled to God the Father. That is the good news that we need to share with others, and they need to hear the goodwill that we have for them. We don't hate them. We don't want ill for them, but we love them. We simply have a different idea when it comes to flourishing and what it means for society to do well and for society to be healthy. And I know we're running out of time, but if I could pivot to something that CPC is doing, Commonwealth Policy Center does get involved with elections. We just launched a religious freedom campaign where we are articulating a number of issues that have been in the news for the last 3 years, and in particular where Governor Andy Beshear has stood on these issues. Back in 2021, he refused to sign the contract for Sunrise Children's Services. It's one of the oldest children's agencies, foster care agencies in the state. He wouldn't sign that contract, which the state's been doing business with them for years, simply because they won't place children in same-sex parented households. Governor Beshear has shut down churches on Easter Sundays while he let other venues remain open. And now we've seen the push through his Department of Education to squash the conscience rights of teachers. These are important issues that Kentucky voters will be considering as they go to the ballot box this November the 7th. And these are issues that Commonwealth Policy Center has engaged in the past, and we're going to continue to engage in these issues. Look, we believe that religious freedom is a foundational right that all of us possess. The government does not have a right to infringe on conscience. The government does not have a right to single out religiously based ministries and to discriminate against them. Government doesn't have a right to shut down churches on Easter morning or any other morning. And we are engaging on behalf of religious freedom. And by the way, if I can get a plug in, people can go to Commonwealth Policy Center's website and check out that Protect Religious Freedom campaign. Just simply go to commonwealthpolicycenter.org and you can find it there, or go to Commonwealth Policy Center's Facebook page and you'll see it there as well.
Well said. So be encouraged. Everybody on some level in your personal life will have to confront this issue on some way. And so there's a moment that everybody's going to have to deal with, and so whether it's I'm being invited to my to a gay wedding, do I go or not, right? Or should I listen to my HR person that is saying that we need to put the pride flag in your cubicle, and every cubicle in the office has to put the pride flag up? Or, I can go on. There's so many examples of this. I mean, should I go into this business that's selling the swimsuits for transgender men? We're all having to deal. So we need courage in our own personal lives now to deal with this. And so I pray that each of you find that courage. The courage comes from, listen, what else do you have to lose? If your viewpoint of the world doesn't win out, then is it really worth living in this country anyway? So what do you have to lose at this point? Go ahead and have the courage to do it. And so in your personal life, you need to make those decisions and fight the good fight. But the very least you can do is just vote, get out and vote for folks that are trying to fight this fight politically to protect your rights. And so this governor does not deserve to stay in office for the way he votes and advocates on this issue specifically. On many others as well, but this issue specifically, it's shameful. So get out and vote, and at least do that. That doesn't take a huge amount of courage in your personal life. Just a matter of getting up, and heck, they're giving you 3 months to vote now. Not even election day. You can go ahead. You got a whole month to vote practically. So at least do that. And so anyway, well, not browbeating you. Thanks for watching. We appreciate everybody that watches here, and be encouraged. I think the culture's starting to swing back. We're trying to get, I think, some sense and sanity is starting to come together here. And so get behind folks like Richard Nelson at the Commonwealth Policy Center. Follow what they're doing, and we appreciate his time on the show today. You're watching the station, Kentucky's Conservative Outpost.